My name is Ike Chime, and I am originally from Nigeria, and I am of Igbo extraction. I came to Finland in late 1988. I have 4 lovely kids, brilliant, lovely kids, and they mean so much to me. Ifoma is the eldest, and then there's Zikora, my eldest son, and then my second daughter, Nene, and then the youngest one is Chinua. Writing is something I love so much, and storytelling is something that is from my childhood. It's been a big part of me, because I'm lucky to have been in the generation of the Igbo people who grew up at a time when storytelling was, very, very prominent. And also I spent a lot of time with my mother and my grandmother and grandfather when I go to the village, though I grew up in the town, but we spent every long holidays in the village. So from there I was able to get involved in storytelling, listening to a lot of stories, and they really draw me in. When I listen to stories, I start living that story. That has been my nature. As an adult, when I started working with the radio in Radio Nigeria in Enugu, indeed I did so many programs. I produced so many programs. But then what people remember me mostly is the radio theater, because that was where the storytelling thing was manifested itself. So I'm a kind of a multi-faceted artist. Apart from my writing, I also get involved in so many other things. So sometimes I have multiple things going on, so I just do a bit of this, a bit of that, and so on and so forth. But I write short stories and poetry. I've always said to myself that when I officially retire from work, that I will spend my time writing books and producing music. That's what I promised many years ago. I had that thought in me all the time. So, as a matter of fact, the idea of the book has always been there. Let's call it about 10 years plus. I was piecing this together. Now I had the time to put all this stuff together, to complete the book. I have been, both physically and mentally writing this book for so many years, My book is a totally, different approach to the issue of Biafra, because it's just a story of a 15-year-old boy, a schoolboy, boarding school boy, who suddenly lost his, all his hopes, because it represents every other person of that age, like me, at that time. You are in the school, boarding school, hoping to graduate from school, maybe in the next 2 years or so, and then suddenly it's announced that everybody should go home in the middle of school days. So from there your life changes, and you find yourself doing all kinds of things. So it is about my experience before the war, and then when the war started. I've mostly written compilation works and some articles in magazines and so on and so forth. Indeed, the War Child of Biafra is my first book in that sense. Although before this I also have written a book of poetry, which is called Biafra Blues and Other Poems. Activism has been it comes to me naturally. Indeed, right from primary school. I can't even explain it, but I think I must have gotten that from my mother, because she was quite an activist. For her short life, because my mother died quite early. I was 9 years old when she died. But all I remember about her is like people always in the house, and she's always like directing this and directing that, and then motivating this and that. And she was even talking on radio. She had a radio show at a point, like talking about women and children and health issues and whatever, food, cooking, how to cook food, and also folk stories and stuff like that. So I think I have gotten a little bit of her in me. So activism has been part of me from primary school. I was in the Scouts movement. I was involved in Red Cross, Junior Red Cross. Indeed, as a Junior Red Cross member, I used to go to the stadium when there are events on my uniform, and help out, like to organize things and probably sometimes give first aid when people, somebody faints or something like that. So it's been right there from time. So during the war, when we became refugees, because we were the first major city that fell to the hands of the Nigerian troop, that is Enugu, the capital. That's my home city. So I became a refugee, and life became boring for such an active young person. So I started looking for what to do, and coincidentally I ran into the International Red Cross, where they had their caravan somewhere close to one hospital. And I went right in there and talked with them, and that was how I started. I worked in so many hospitals. I started working with emergency rescue team. Because then Nigerian Air Force, they were bombing civilian residential areas and marketplaces and all that. We had to always go after the raid to clean up the place. So coming to Finland, it was just natural to also continue with that. So like most of the NGOs that I work with, I did a lot of, I'm still doing voluntary work in those NGOs, especially things related to social inclusion. For instance, the sports and social inclusion, like our organization called League of Sports for All, that I am presently the chairperson, or the Erasmus, where I'm also serving in the board, and even on the European level, the World Association of Community Radio Broadcasters, I served in the board, helping out to improve things and carry out a lot of motivation, and all my life I've been activist one way or the other. Indeed, my music start became more serious when just around the middle of the 90s, when there was depression in the country and there wasn't much doing, people lost their job. And I started first by putting together one of the earliest, African cultural music group. So because those days we were quite few, so the group was really very mixed up. We had a Gambian, Ghanaians, Nigerians, and I think that was the makeup of the, and we just play traditional. We pick up songs from our different places, and we do this kind of repertoire that has, from one country to the other, playing in different places, So that was how it all started, But then as time went on, I started doing my own things. I'm so much interested in pure roots, traditional roots African things, and instruments. That's what I use mostly, And I've worked with schools, trying to tell them about the instruments and let them try it out because it's something they've never seen, like the udu, for instance, the kalimba and the oboe, and also the different kinds of flutes. I have a large collection of them. When I go for this kind of workshop, I just put them all together and let the kids touch them and play with them. And then after that, we do a show together. I teach them some songs, some African songs, and we sing together. And I did this for so many years. So this is the aspect of my music. But presently, I'm trying to produce Igbo folk songs. I'm putting them together now. I came to Finland in late 1988. I think that should be around August or thereabout. And I started my life in Finland in a small town, in the small town of Riihimäki. Though it's much more, the population has grown so much. But as at that time, I think I was the only foreigner, if care's not taken, or the only African in the whole place. So it wasn't so easy, living in that place. But then I got admission for my master's program at the University of Helsinki. So I was spending more time, every day. I drive to Helsinki and later in the evening back. So I started meeting people, mostly from, and then when I started working with Radio City, it expanded my connection with people. So most of my friends came from these setups. For instance, I have this friend who is originally from Turkey, and we used to hang out together with one other Indian guy because people were bored. We started a reggae club, which became a big success here in Finland, the first major reggae club in Finland. So, and also in my work, I traveled, a lot around Europe, and then I ran into one Nigerian brother who is also quite an activist, in Belgium when we went for a conference, Collins Wege. He's an activist also like myself, out there in Belgium. He's been very, very, very active, and of course I can't forget to mention Christian Thibault, who is just more than a friend. He's a brother. We have done so much work together with our other friend, because the three of us we work together. Alingwe, Jean-Marc, that's another great brother also. We have together shared a lot of things, even within the family. All the children we grew up together. We always meeting during our activities, and they're all still connected with each other. Because no man is an island, and sometimes you need somebody to discuss things with and give you ideas about how things are done or what to do, So the impact from most of my friends have been quite useful to me. Next step is so much into my music thing. There's a new concept I'm working on, which has got to do with music for relaxation and meditation. So this is exactly the area I'm working on, because when you look at the meditative music, they are always they have a lot of Eastern influence, very exotic influence from the East mostly, and what people don't know is that there are a lot of meditative music concepts, back in Africa, that got to do with rituals and requiems and things like that. So I'm working on trying to build that kind of relaxation music and using the nature